All right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teaching us the truth, 100% securely. And I'd like to give a salutation to the men out there on the highways and the byways pushing this truth 100% securely throughout the four winds of the earth. And I'd like to give a salutation to the Akim and Aqua who are listening and studying to sort ourselves approved. All right, so it's pretty much just another quick lesson. And as you can see, the title of the lesson, which I just want to, just say a few things, because the video pretty much speaks for itself. But, you know, this is all the more reason why, we got to let this place go. America, aka Babylon the Great, as we know it, is a place that is polluted. All right, it's going to destroy you, even with a sword destruction, like it said in Micah chapter 2 and 10, which we'll go ahead and get that real quick, right? So the book of Micah chapter 2 and verse 10, right? And it says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest." Okay, the so-called Negroes, Latino, and Native American, this have never been a resting place, or a place for us to settle, right? So where everybody's trying to, be on a come up, come up and trying to build businesses here and so on and so forth, you're pretty much going to lose it. Just like Yahweh Shah said in the book of Matthew, the 8th chapter, the 36th verse, or Luke chapter 9 and 25, and Matthew, I said Matthew, but I meant Mark chapter 8 and 36, but Matthew chapter 26 and 16, Luke, you paraphrasing, right? And so pretty much all of those precepts pretty much says the same thing, but it's worded different, okay? And so that's what Yahweh Shah said, whosoever shall lose his life for my sake shall gain it, but whosoever shall gain this life, okay, in this world shall lose it, okay? And there's a reason why, is because this world is going to pass away, okay? But reading Micah 2 and 10 again from the top, and it says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with the sword destruction," okay? And I just recently did a lesson here recently going into when Yahweh Shah called, basically compare kingdoms and individual to a tree, okay? And basically a tree that bears fruit, it can be poisonous or it can be, good fruit. And that compared to your work, all right? And the works of America is pretty much a wicked tree. It basically produces bad fruit. And Yahweh Shah said every tree that bringeth forth not good fruit should be hewn down and cast into the fire. And basically America is that wicked tree that's going to be hewn down and cast to the fire, which basically, symbolically speaking, is going to be nuked. This place is going to be nuked, okay? And that is brewing, all right? All right, so in this clip, I can, I'm just go ahead and play the beginning, but I actually liked it what Terrence Howard said too, so we'll go to that as well too for about 12 minutes 35-second mark. But in the beginning, all right, let's play this real quick, and the Lord willing, this be edifying, right? Cause this is why we gotta let this place go, man. I was just thinking about this right before I was doing this lesson, is that how much burden you have when you try to maintain your lifestyle in America, aka Babylon the Great. It's a heavy burden. But when you let this place go, right, you feel so much, you feel like a weight you feel so much weight that then got lifted up off of your soul, pretty much, so to speak, and you don't even worry about certain stuff, right? Like how a lot of people are bugging out about the cut in from their food stamps and so on and so forth. That's nothing compared to what Yahweh Shai gonna give us in the kingdom. Okay, so real quick, let's play this clip. All right, and we get some precept and we'll close this thing out. It's not gonna be a long lesson, but I just want to just put out another lesson, just pretty much to say, let this place go, man. This place is going to destroy you, and Lord willing, it be soon. Okay, and that's why we rejoice at this place, at the downfall of this place, because hey, man, it's on. We know that the kingdom of heaven is on the way, man.
Counterfeit like LeBron James, who has that Boule logo tattooed on his chest. When LeBron retires, his number would be called 2. Okay, this is how the deep state, he thinks that he's just going to retire, and that's why he doesn't want to retire. You know the former NBA player Dwayne Wade? Correct. His son Zion is now called Zion. Okay, this is how these people within the system, to go to the next level, you have to sacrifice something. This goes back thousands of years during the time of the pharaohs. If a man wanted to have access to Pharaoh, he had to sleep with the male magician. If a woman wanted to have access to Pharaoh, she had to sleep with the female magician.
And see, and what he just broke down, that was historical, right? That was a historical fact, and this is why we read scriptures. Let's get this: Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and pretty much the 8th verse. No, chapter 1 and 9, right? And it said, the thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, and that which shall be done. There is no new thing under the sun. Okay? And in verse 10 it says, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It has been already of old time, which was before us. Okay? And it said in verse 11, it says, there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. All right? And so, and this is why this scripture pretty much describe reincarnation. Okay? So those same spirit that was in the time of Pharaoh, they are back today. Okay? But they don't remember their former self. That's why in verse 10 it said, there is Salaki verse 11, it said, there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are come, which those shall come after. All right? And so, yeah, this right here is the very scripture where when he just described what they were doing back in the times of Egypt. All right? In America today is called spiritually Sodom in Egypt, because all of the same practices that was historically recorded back in the times of Pharaoh, you seeing those same practices today, but it's in a different form. It's in a modern day form, which he's getting ready to describe. All right, let's go play on in the video.
Parent wanted their child to see Pharaoh, that child had to sleep with a male or female magician. Nothing has changed. In the rap industry, to go at a certain level financially, you have to be what we call butt broken. Humiliation. And to your powerful listeners, this goes back into slavery, right? The transatlantic slave trade. Slaves who could not be controlled were sent to the Caribbean, and they were tied down, Muslim men, chest first, and molested by a male slave master in front of the other family members, in front of the other slaves. Nothing has changed.
I want to be a part of the rap game so bad, man. He looked like he would kill his mama to get a hit record. Rick Ross signed this guy on YouTube. And when Rick Ross signed that dude, man, as wicked as Rick Ross is, now you know Rick Ross is wicked as hell. He did not want to sign that brother. When that dude signed that contract with Rick Ross and Jamaica, he was right on the point. He looked at that contract, man. He just shook his head, but you can see it in his eyes.
Yeah, look at that, and that right there. When I saw that, and you saw basically right here, I'm gonna play this again. Like look at Rick Ross, how he look, and that's what I was talking about earlier in this lesson. Is that when you're trying to maintain here in America, aka Babylon the Great, you have so much burden, you have so much weight on you, okay? And that's what you saw with Rick Ross right here. Look at this.
And when Rick Ross signed that dude, man, as wicked as Rick Ross is, now you know Rick Ross is wicked as hell. He did not want to sign that brother. When he signed,
look at the burden when he took his hat off. That was almost like. When you saw that, like that burden when he took his hat off, it was that sigh like that, like it was that you can tell just by looking at them, man. And see, and that's why when we say arise ye and depart, man, fuck America, aka Babylon the Great, right? Like this place is done, okay? May Yahweh Shem Yahshua destroy this place as of yesterday. This is what we constantly been waiting on, okay? We need a new ruler, which is going to rule the world in righteousness, which is Yahweh Shah, who the world in you call Jesus Christ, come back, and he's going to rule the world as it's supposed to be, okay? And then we'll be at peace. As it says in Proverbs chapter 29. Let's get that real quick. Proverbs 29 and 2. Right? Because we bring these scriptures out all the time and they let you know who's in rulership and who's not. Okay? Proverbs 29 and 2, it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Okay? And see, even the celebrities are mourning on how they have to keep and maintain their lifestyle, man. They're mourning in the state that, just to initiate certain people just so they can maintain and keep up with the sacrifice they got to keep. That's a burden on them, man. All right, so they're mourning even though they're wicked as well, but they're mourning as well too, in a certain sense, right? Proverbs 29 and 16, and it says, when the wicked are multiplied, transgression increases, but the righteous shall see their fall. Okay, and this is what we constantly been waiting on. The righteous is going to see the fall of America, aka Babylon the Great, man. Okay, so let's see what else we got.
Who signed that contract with Rick Ross and Shoemaker hit it right on the point. He looked at that contract, man. He just shook his head, but you can see in his eyes. He just had a look where all bets are off. Like, God damn, another brother gone. You see what I'm saying? But them demons got to be fed, man. He has to do it. He has to feed the demons, meaning he got to keep signing. He got to find people who's vulnerable and dumb enough to want to sell their soul. Once you get into the sodomite world of the word, you have to keep initiating.
Right, and that's what he said. He had to keep initiating, right, and basically had to keep up with that burden. Okay, and so that leads you right to let's get Mark chapter 8. Which that's pretty much what the brother put in the lesson, right? Mark chapter 8. And pretty much starting at verse 35. Okay, because it says, for whoso, and this is the words of Yahweh Shah himself, okay, because that for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. All right, so anybody that's in this lifestyle trying to maintain here, trying to save your lifestyle here in America, you're going to lose it. And the reason why you're going to lose it because it's already ordained that this place is going to fall. Okay? And that's why you're going to lose it. All right? And it says, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake, okay, my sake, which is Yahweh Shah, who in the world in you call Jesus Christ, we lose this life. Basically, you're casting all your burden that you're dealing with here in America, in this wicked world, and you losing it for the sake of Yahweh Shah, meaning that you're willing to leave all of this behind just to follow Yahweh Shah, just like all the disciples did, okay, in the book of Matthew. And basically all the disciples, when you read up scriptures on how, especially Matthew, that was my most favorite one, where he was basically tax collector, and Yahweh Shah walked up to him and he said, follow me. And he dropped everything that he was doing and he went and followed Yahweh Shah. Okay? And that's how you have to be, especially in this wicked society. Your mind has to be prepared and willing to walk away from everything on this side. Okay? And so so let's read that again from the top. And it says, for whosoever would save his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel, the same shall save it. And verse 36 is pretty much the point of the video. And it says, for what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Right? What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Okay? And in verse 37, it says, what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Okay? In verse 38, whosoever therefore be ashamed of me and my word, in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father, which is with the holy angels. All right. So when he said he come in the glory of his Father, meaning that Yahweh Shai is gonna come back and he's gonna come with the angels, as it's been prophesied through the scriptures, and he's gonna become with the angels, right? And it should have been something else. Let me look it up in another scripture, so like bear with me for a minute. But yeah, so Yahweh Shah pretty much said that he's going to deny them before the Father. Whosoever deny me before men, I will deny you before the Father. Okay. And so that's what it said in verse 38, Mark 8 and 38, and say, whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words and this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed. Basically, yeah, shall the Son of Man, Yahweh shall be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father and with the holy angels. Okay, so that same thing, when you be ashamed of Yahweh Shai and his words in this wicked kingdom, he's going to be ashamed of you when he going to come in his glory, when he establish his kingdom on earth, right here on earth. Okay? All right, so, yeah, man, that's pretty much the point right there, but we'll read a couple of more scriptures, because that's what a lot of these celebrities have done, where they basically sold their soul, and they didn't follow the footsteps of Yahweh Shai. Matter of fact, when you read Ecclesiastica, aka Sirach 2 and 10, all right? Because a lot of these celebrities had a chance to follow in the same footstep as Yahweh Shai when he was tempted on a 40-day fast in the book of Matthew, the 4th chapter. But let's get Ecclesiastica, aka Sirach, chapter 2 and verse 10 real quick. Okay, because it says, look at the generation of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, was confounded, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Okay, and so in the case of this situation, or in the video that we're looking at, is Yahweh Shai is pretty much that generation of old, and he's the perfect example for basically the temptation that these celebrities are going through just to get these riches. Okay, because that's why the scripture says, look at the generation of old. All right, and in other words, look at the generation of old and see the example and the step that they follow. Okay, so going to Matthew, the 4th chapter, and this is Yahweh Shai. All right, because he's also that generation of old. Okay, so we go get straight to the point. This is Matthew, because this is when Yahweh Shai went on a 40-day fast. All right, 40 days, 40 nights. All right, Matthew chapter 4 and 33, and it says, we'll start at the top. Matthew 4 and 1, it said, then was Yahweh Shai led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of Yahweh, command these stones and be made bread. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right? And so while he was tempted the first time, what did he do? He leaned on the scriptures, right? And he basically he held fast to the scripture. He kept on the words of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Verse 5. And it said, then the devil taketh him up into the holy city and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple and said unto him, if thou be the Son of Yahweh, cast thyself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hand they shall bear thee up, and lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Okay? And Yahweh Shai said unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy power. See, he quoted the law. Okay? Again, it's another example. He no matter what he was going through, he was hungry, and he stood on business. Okay? And it's going a perfect example of looking at the generation of old. As the scripture said, all scriptures are written for our learning, all right? For long suffering, for exaltation, is loosely paraphrasing. Okay? And then verse 8, and it says, and again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and said unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. All right, and in verse 10 it said, then Yahushua said unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy power, and him only shalt thou serve. Okay, and so verse 10 through verse 8, Matthew chapter 4, verse 8 through 10 is pretty much the same temptation that all of these celebrities have been faced with, in this wicked society. But the only difference is they fell for the trick versus what Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai held fast to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, all right? And that's pretty much the example that you want for yourself, especially in this wicked society, man. Okay, so that's pretty much the point. Lord willing, this is edifying. Let's see what else we got on this video, and we'll just close this thing out. Matter of fact, we'll just let me see what else I got, cause I was even going through the commentaries on it, just see if it showed anything different. Matter of fact, it left out with a parable. Let's get another example in Luke chapter 12 and about the 16th verse. Okay, and this is pretty much in this parable, this was the mindset of the celebrity, and it's a mindset of a lot of people that's in this society now. When they try to, hey man, we need to get our black dollars together and so on and so forth. This is their mindset. All right, Luke chapter 12 and 16, he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully, and he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruit? Okay, so basically a lot of people have a lot of possession, worldly possession, right? That's what the fruit is compared to. And he said, this will I do, I will pull down my barn, right, building a house, or building a business, and build greater, and there where I bestow all my fruit and my good. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much good laid up for many years. Take thy ease, and eat, drink, and be merry. But Yahweh Yahushua said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then who shall those things be which thou hast provided? Okay, and he asked a question. All right, all of these things that you possess right here in this wicked kingdom, you're not going to be able to take it when Yahushua call your soul up. And that's why he asked that question. Okay, in verse 21, and it says, so is he that lays up treasure for himself is not rich toward Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. Okay, so if your mind, your focus is on the world, then you're basically not laying up yourself treasure on earth. Okay, so matter of fact, since that was quoted, we're going to end it off with Matthew the 6th chapter and the 19th verse, and then we're going to play that last clip that I saw with Terrence Howard, okay? And then we'll close this out. Okay, so this is Matthew chapter 6 and 19. It says, lay not up for yourself treasure upon earth, where moth and rust do corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. And it says, but lay up for yourself treasure in heaven, where neither moth nor rust do corrupt, and where thieves do not break through and steal. In verse 21, it says, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Okay? So, and that also lines up, this scripture also lined up with Job chapter 4, verse 7 through 8, and also Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 through 8. Okay? So, that's pretty much the point right there. Lord willing, this is edifying. With that, let me give all praise and honor. to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and elders of the Great Millstone for teaching us the truth 100% securely. Shalom, Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Shalom.
But when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You should have a greater desire than being a man.
So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. The women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men. We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was it?
Hell yeah. I mean, Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to, That's what my assistant said. I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing, and have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man.